Afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, man. So since we have a former triathlete on, I have a couple like race and running jokes here.
I hope they're funny.
They're not. Just for the record. What do triathletes eat before they race?
Spaghetti.
No. Any idea, Troy?
Eat before they race.
Before the race. Day before the race, what do they eat?
Yeah, pasta.
Yeah.
Pasta. No.
Yeah, carbs.
Nothing. You know why?
No.
Because they fast.
Oh, they fast. That's
not good.
You need the drums on that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So Lacey, my wife, she did a triathlon, just won a sprint triathlon up in Phoenix. I think it was like, I don't know which if it was at McDowell or something like that. Wherever they have a lake up there. But when we're up there, we saw a fish participating in the triathlon.
Uh-huh. Yep.
He was doing it just for the halibut. It's not good.
I'm going to leave now.
You feel better?
It's a great start to this show. As always.
Right, well, it's a Sunday afternoon on the MCP, a little earlier than we normally roll. That's good. Mm-hmm. I can go to bed at a decent hour tonight.
Yep.
And we have
special guest.
A special guest that has a special place in my life that he doesn't even know about yet. He's going to find out live on the air. Yep. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. I'm Troy Jacobson. Nice to be here. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, Troy.
That's good. And Troy, like, tell us a little bit about, who you are, what your businesses are, that kind of stuff. Like, how are you connected to cycling?
Oh gosh, who am I? That's a big question.
Existential.
Here we go.
We should go for about an hour.
Well,
so
I am a man.
Let's start there.
Oh man, no, I do want to leave.
You wouldn't be the first person to tell us that.
What did I sign up for here?
The broadest question you could ask me.
Yeah, man.
Right on.
No, okay. Tell us about the Jacobson coaching group. How about that? Let me narrow it down for you.
Perfect. I appreciate that. So I do executive coaching and Jacobson Coaching Group and leadership training, business consulting, and Jacobson Coaching Group is basically the entity that encompasses all those different services that I offer these days.
And in addition to the leadership and executive coaching, you also do endurance coaching as well, right?
A little bit. I still dabble in that.
But not as much.
Not as much. That was my career for 30 years prior to where I am now.
And now you figured out that business is where to get the money, so you're coaching executives. I think I need some help too, man. So maybe you can help me.
Well, interestingly, back in my days when I was coaching athletes, most of them were executives.
We were talking about that earlier.
So there you go. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's cool how you transition from endurance coaching into now leadership and executive coaching. And I'm sure there's a lot of
parallels.
Yeah, parallels.
Yeah, there's so many crossovers and similarities to both fields. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of helping people optimize their performance, whether it's out there on the race course or in their business life. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is super cool. All right, so I want to tell a story, and this story is about one of Coach Troy's like prior endeavors, I guess, Spinervals.
But it lives on in infamy and was resurrected, I think, during the pandemic. Was
it really?
There's articles written about it. I don't know if you've seen it. The OG indoor training videos.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So anyways, sorry, Josh.
No,
and our listeners may have heard this.
Yeah. They may have heard this story before because I've told this story before, but since we have Troy here,
it's got to be shared.
I'm sorry to the audience. You're going to have to hear it again. Because Troy is not yet an avid listener of the MCP. Although after this, I'm sure he will be. At least one more episode after this one. All right. So circa, I think, early 2000s, first moved to Tucson and get into mountain biking after Lacey, my wife, and I was in the Air Force at the time. And after we came back from England, we were living over there. We started a mountain bike team in Tucson called the Sonoran Pirates. And really it just started out as kind of like a drinking crew. Like
with the great flag,
with the great flag, which was a pirate flag, of course. But, like we ran a couple races that were, you do a half-mile lap and then you have to do a shot of beer after every lap, and then whoever can do the most laps. Or you can go down a giant water slide. Those are your two choices every lap. We also had non-alcoholic options. You could do prune juice, which I found out if you drink a lot of prune juice, you can end up in the hospital, because we had a guy end up in the hospital for drinking too much prune juice.
Is one of those races where the police were called because you did it on the neighborhood?
Police came almost every time.
Okay. Yep.
Anyway, Snoring Pirates. And so we were a group of folks that like to smoke and drink and then occasionally ride bikes, right? That was basically what we were. We still drink. We don't smoke anymore. We still like to ride bikes. Mm-hmm. But that team, we have the race, and we were there. You were there a couple months ago out in Oracle, and Todd Sedao and Epic Rides. They do an amazing event called 24 Hours in the Old Pueblo. We've talked about it probably incessantly since it happened, because it's such a milestone event here in Tucson. But we have that every year. And so we would go 10 months with drinking and smoking and riding bikes a little bit. And then, come December, we'd be like, oh, crap. We got to train. And so we stumbled upon, I think, like in a thrift shop, a Spinervals video. And I bought a $100 Johnny G spin bike, which is a for big guys, is a solid, well-performing, low-tech, but low tech compared to today's standards, but just a great, real heavy, felt good. And we started doing these Spinerval videos, and what we learned over a span of like 4 or 5 years of doing this every year.
This is you and the Pirates.
This is me and the Pirates. And it's not all the Pirates, but a couple of us. What we learned is that you could go from being really out of shape, smoking, drinking, and if you did 2, maybe 3 of these Spinerval workouts a week for like 4 weeks, we could go from being completely out of shape to being able to go and perform at the 24-hour race.
It's efficient series.
It blew our mind.
That's cool.
So we copied your company. Very unsuccessfully.
What did you do?
Okay, so you can look around and you can see there's a bunch of instruments in here. So we were also musicians, and so we thought, what could we do to make your passion your profession? Mm-hmm. How can we combine music and bikes and make that make money off that? We made no money. So let's just start there. We lost money, but we created a company called Audio Cyclist. We mimicked your format. We did a ton of research on high interval intensity training, HIIT training. Have no formal training in it, just what we could learn in reading books and articles and case studies, everything. Then we went and we designed the workouts, and we wrote the music to specifically increase intensity during the sprint sections and decrease intensity during the non-sprint sections. I cannot tell you how labor intensive it is to write music that sounds decent, that specifically would match the workout. We designed the workout first, and we go write the songs. So it's called Audio Cyclist. Mm-hmm. And just for shits and giggles, we kept one workout active. So you can go to iTunes, wherever you get music, you can type in Audio Cyclist.
And you're still getting royalties?
We sell 3 albums a year in Japan. So I get like $4 a year in Japan. There's, the Japanese buy weird American things. So thank you to our fans in Japan. Yep. But we kept one workout active, and you should listen to it just for shits and giggles.
Yeah,
if you have Amazon or Google, whatever you have, you can listen to it for free.
That's cool.
It's my voice, and we wrote all the music, and it was all based on what we saw from you in Spinervals and how it actually transformed our bodies. So I'll give you a second to digest what I just told you and see if you have any thoughts about that.
Well, I love it. I think, it's not the first time I heard there's been extensions of what we did back in those days in Spinervals. Yeah. I mean, we started that company back in 1995.
Wow.
Back in the days of VHS.
Yeah.
And, the first one, we didn't even know if it would work out, but it did. But to that point, there were several companies I heard about that went into the audio space, and then we had several competitors try to pop up in the video space as well back in those days.
Just beat them all down.
Well, I don't know I don't know, honestly. I think, Spinervals in the cycling community for a while there in the late 90s throughout the early 2000s was like the Kleenex of indoor cycling. When somebody was going to do a hard, high intensity indoor cycling workout, they would call it a Spinervals workout.
Yeah,
it was a trademark brand, but people have said that. But I think it's cool. I appreciate you telling me that story. I'm glad. I'm glad there was some influence there.
And then Peloton came and killed us all, and we're like, man, you were like 20 years too early, and we were like 10 years too early or something, man. Yeah. But we lost like 20 grand on that basis. So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
But it was a lot of fun. I learned how to produce music much better. I learned how to play my instruments better, and we learned a lot about interval training. So it was good.
And I think our theme song, isn't that one of the
So this theme song, right? So this theme song
Jack
was
Ritter.
a stem that we had written, and we had written so much music, but it was a stem that we had written that we were going to use in one of the workouts, and I never did.
I like it.
And then when we started this podcast, I just went back and said, let's find an opening and closing to the podcast, and I've got thousands of clips that we wrote.
That's awesome. Well, just so you know, over the course of 25 years, we produced over 100 videos, and most are royalty-free music that we put over.
Yeah.
And it's some of it's terrible.
Yeah, that's part of why we did our own music.
Believe me, I used to get beat up in online forums about the music all the time.
Yes.
But I would always just say, well, we actually on DVDs we offered an option to turn the music off. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that. Yes, I did
so
know that.
people could play their own
Oh,
music.
their own, yeah.
Yeah, but we did several where we had original music made as well. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had a combination, but
did the music actually match the...
we always tried to match to some extent the cadence, and beats per minute or whatever you want to call it. We tried that a little bit, but I found that it didn't really matter. It was really interesting. I mean, I got beat up all the time about our music, how much it sucked.
This is why Audio Cyclists was started, man.
But
That's exactly why.
and that's cool. That's great. But the point is, people still love the videos.
I still used them.
Like they still did them.
Yeah.
And if anything, it was such cheesy music. It almost was like nostalgic. People did it just because it was so cheesy.
It made it cool somehow.
It was.
That's super
Anyway,
funny.
yeah, that's cool.
Anyways, to my boys, and then so there's more to the story, right? There's more to the story that I haven't told on the podcast, but I figure I'll just tell on the podcast because whatever. It's
not the gorillas with
no, it's not the gorilla stuff. But that was funny. If you ever did the L, do you do the L tour?
Yeah. Huh?
Do you remember a year where there were guys dressed as gorillas handing out bananas to people?
I guess I've seen pictures of it.
That was us. That was me for Audio Cyclists. But yeah. So at the time, so I work for a defense contractor in town. We won't say the name, but you probably know who it is. Anyways, at the time, so I started this company, Audio Cyclist, with a full conflict of interest filled out and all that stuff that I'm supposed to do so I don't get in trouble at work. But I started it with my peers in the company, and then I got promoted, and they were all my employees. And then one year, I get called down to ethics. I'm like, oh, this is new. Okay, let's see what this is all about. And I walk into ethics, and there is all of my employees, but they're also part of Audio Cyclist. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And I'm sorry, boys, and I'm telling this on air, but it's been so long. Just get over it. And so what's going on? So turns out one of my other employees had reported me to ethics and said that I had inappropriately rated and ranked one of the employees that was with me with Audio Cyclists who worked for me at the company as well. I almost said it. I did kind of say it. Because of my professional relationship with them outside of the company. Truth of the matter was, you go into business with rock stars. You don't go into business with scrubs. Mm-hmm. So he was a rock star. And so I rated and ranked him as a rock star because he was a rock star. And we were absolved of all wrongdoing.
Nice.
The only problem was that I had used my work computer on one business trip and opened up some emails related to Audio Cyclists just at night, after I finished the work day.
Yeah.
And that was a terminable offense.
Ooh.
So they didn't terminate me, but they could have.
Yeah.
So most of the guys got scared and quit Audio Cyclists. So there's actually two versions of this company. The first with the original crew, And then the weak ones fell apart, and the strong ones stayed. And then we revamped Audio Cyclist 2.0. But neither of them made money, so it doesn't matter.
That would have been life-changing for you, all because of Audio Cyclist. Not in a good way.
If I had gotten terminated,
or if it
looking back, maybe it would have been better. I don't know. We'll see.
That's awesome.
All right, so how'd you end up? So okay, you guys tell us about like I'm just curious about Spinervals, and I think it was recorded up in the Baltimore area. Is that true?
Well, we started, the series started actually with another workout video called Cycle Aerobics by Cyclops. And actually that was 1995. That was the first video ever made for indoor cyclists, serious cyclists in an indoor workout. And we videotaped that out, or no, actually filmed it. It was really on film. Back in 1995 up in Beaver Creek, Colorado, and was sponsored by Cyclops, which is a fluid trainer company. But back then, that technology was brand new.
We should probably explain to Mike what a fluid trainer is.
Yeah, it's just it's a resistance trainer where instead of we used to use wind trainers that created the resistance. Then they went to mag trainers, and then they went to fluid trainers that were in the unit.
Like literally, so
you
fluid
take
inside.
Well, you take your back wheel off your bike, and you put it onto this unit.
Okay.
This Cyclops unit.
Okay.
And then so you can ride your bike.
And you're shifting
inside.
like you know that.
Yeah, and you shift and everything like that. Anyway, this video we shot out in Beaver Creek was sponsored by Cyclops. And I was a young guy. I was 25 years old at the time. I'm almost 54 now, so that kind of gives perspective, right? And so this is sponsored by Cyclops at the time. We had the best athletes in the world in the video. Ironman champions, Greg Welsh and Karen Smyers. We had Tyler Hamilton, who went on, as and many others. Mike Engelman. Gosh, I'm forgetting some of the names.
You're going into 30-year archives right now.
Yeah,
buddy.
but these guys, they were the best, and they've had such an influence on U.S. cycling over the years as well. In any event, that was the first one, and then Spinervals came about in 1997. And I'm a young guy. I was working at Meadowbrook Aquatic Center as a fitness director, also coaching at the time, and also racing as a pro at the time, doing Ironman, that kind of thing. And at Meadowbrook, that's where Michael Phelps swam, and many, many other Olympians. That's out in Baltimore.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to, see Michael swim when he was 10,
when he was young,
10,
right?
12 years old.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. And we had an awesome triathlon program there as well. But anyway, I had some investors give me some money and say, I approached them, of course, but I was coaching these guys, and I always worked with really, how do I put it? High performance people in the business community, and they were involved in Ironman and that kind of thing. So they decided to back me,
right? And
we shot our first video in 1997. And I remember that first video was shot out at a lake in Baltimore. It's Spinervals 1.0. It's called No Slackers Allowed.
Nice. Yep, I think I've done that one.
Yeah. And it was a really hardcore workout. But that one workout cost it was over $20,000 just to videotape the one.
I am feeling so much better about what we did with Audio
Cyclists
after hearing that.
Well, that was right back in the 90s.
Did it turn? So was it profitable then at $20,000 cost?
Not the first one. Okay. The first one, it's like, I didn't take any money out of the company for about 5 years.
Oh wow!
But then what happened was, and this was back before, the internet was becoming a thing.
Yep.
Gosh, when did I register? CoachTroy.com, like 95, I registered CoachTroy.com. I remember that.
It was brand new. The internet was like
AOL.com.
Well, anyway, we used to get sales by, and I was advertising in Triathlete Magazine, Velo News, all the big cycling publications back in that day. Yep. And not many coaches were. In fact, nobody was. I think I was one of the first to do.
So you had a corner on the market, man. There.
Well, I was investing. It's like I took every penny I had. I remember taking penny or like quarters out of my couch, to buy coffee, and I didn't have any money.
No kidding.
But I was taking every dollar and just reinvesting it in the company and trying to grow this thing because I was just
super passionate about it, right?
Oh yeah. And so. Then the next year, and we used to get sales. We used to, remember you used to fill out order forms and mail them in, and then you'd get your product in the mail.
Mail order?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I used to do. I used to work out of my mom and dad's basement, essentially.
Wow.
And I would just, an order. And I would run to the post office and drop it in one of those bags and ship it off. And that was one order, $30. Holy crap. This was awesome.
For the Spinervals.
For the first VHS. Yeah.
For the VHS.
Yeah. For that first one, Spinervals 1.0, no slackers allowed.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was kind of cool. And what happened was people started to recognize, like, there was a word of mouth thing going on. And there's also this other thing that I started back earlier. It's called Fax-A-Coach. Remember faxes?
I did.
Yes.
And that was back in the early 90s. And that was a program where I would work with athletes by faxing them workouts.
Yeah.
And then we'd talk on the phone once in a while.
I saw that on your website, actually. The fax in 1992. That's funny.
Wow.
Yeah. And so all that combined with my exposure through this video I did with Cyclops, which was bundled with all Cyclops trainers. So all of a sudden, I had
anybody that had a Cyclops trainer knew who you were.
Back in those mid 90s. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was an incredible boon for me, like a big opportunity. And so people had name recognition, and Spinervals was like the first thing to the market in this very niche category of competitive workout videos for serious cyclists and triathletes.
Yeah.
So the second
and fat guys in Arizona.
Well, whatever worked, right? But so the second year, I said, there's got to be an economy to scale here, or efficiencies that I can build into this. So the second year, we shot 2 videos the same day. So all of a sudden, I cut my production cost in half.
Are you paying the folks in the workout?
No. So this was another thing that I think made Spinervals successful. We didn't use models. We didn't use professional athletes. My whole desire here was to show that everyday athletes, age group athletes, could participate.
Yep.
So we always did casting calls, but opened it up to anybody. So we had somebody in every workout that anybody watching the workouts could
relate
identify
to.
with.
You were like into the diverse slate before it was it was an executive thing to do.
Well, and the beauty of that was not only did it, give that diversity and people felt included, but everybody in the videos, they were excited to be in a video. So they talked about the videos. Yeah. And all of a sudden they became my salespeople.
Yeah, no, that's the same thing happens like for us on this podcast. Like every time we have a new person on, we get another couple hundred viewers.
Sure, because they start promoting it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that was back before the internet before the internet.
So
was
word of mouth
really
is a big deal.
Yeah, word of mouth was a big deal. And so the second year, 2 videos, the third year, 3 videos. And then all of a sudden I had a series. So people bought 1 video. And no, they didn't buy just 1. They bought 3. So then my, you can see what's happening. It's a snowball. And I mean, over the years, and some years we did 3, some years we did 5. We were one of the biggest endemic advertisers, to what I was told, in Triathlete magazine for a while. We did catalogs that popped in. I mean, I was spending 6 figures a year in print advertising.
Wow.
All the mags. Yeah.
If you're spending, so it must have done well then. I mean, it sounds like
we had worldwide distribution. We had all the major catalogers carrying our stuff. Yeah. I had a building. I built a building and had a pick, pack, ship operation
for Spinervals.
Yeah.
So that was supporting then you as a pro triathlete.
Well, I mean, my triathlon, my athletic pursuit was out of passion. I mean, I was a 2nd-tier pro. And like I could win regional events, and I won some national events.
Yeah, but you were like top 20 in Ironman.
Yeah, I was 20th overall one year. But still, you're getting sponsored. Well, actually, my sponsor was Ensure. I had Ensure as a sponsor. The stuff you buy.
The old person drink? Seriously?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And for 2 years, for 2 years, they had a picture of me on the bike. On their packaging. So if you went into the grocery store,
bought some Ensure. Were they now I think it's marketed more towards elderly folks. Was it marketed
back then? It was as well, but they were still trying to get into trying
to break into the athletic.
Yeah. Well, and it was great nutrition for endurance athletes.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I was a 2nd-tier professional, but what it did for me was it established credibility, and it gave me just a great connection to the athletic community. And I was a coach, athlete. I used to write articles for Triathlete magazine a lot, and just had a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and the credibility.
The credibility thing was huge. And then the bike shops. I had 2 triathlon stores out east, one in Maryland and one in Northern Virginia. And we sponsored all the big events out there. Right. And the Mid-Atlantic race community was huge back in those days, and it still is. I'm sure I've been disconnected from it for a long time, but Yeah, it was just I had these different pillars of the business. I had the coaching, I had the retail, I had the videos, which were international at that time.
Yeah.
And it just became a little, I guess you could call it almost like a little empire.
Yeah,
empire.
and you're diversified. And,
Emperor. I like Emperor Troy.
No,
more than I like Coach Troy.
but no, it wasn't that. But it was definitely a great case study in how to build a business in an industry that was hit a lot of different parts of the industry, and we served a lot of customers and brought a lot of people into the sport. So
did you end up selling the business?
I did. So I ended up selling my bike shops. I opened up a small fitness center out there, got involved in commercial real estate and buying commercial properties and that kind of thing. The video business existed for 25 years. So it was a tremendous long-term thing. And I always coached. I always coached athletes and always kept a roster of anywhere from 10 to 30 athletes that I worked with on a regular basis. So what happened was when I moved to Tucson, and we also did training camps. I forgot about that part of the business. We did training camps around the country. So we did a lot of the Ironmans, like Ironman Wisconsin, Ironman Lake Placid. We did training camps a month and a half or 2 months prior to those events.
At the location?
At the location, on the course, and talked about the physiology of training and gave the athletes a course preview. And I've had like hundreds of athletes go through our training camps over the years. And that was always a great way to connect with the athletes on a more personal level. And a lot of them were Spinervals.
Yeah.
Right.
Users. That's how they got turned on to you, right?
Yeah,
that's super cool.
They came to the camps. So what happened was when we moved out to Tucson, and I love Tucson because I started doing camps out in here in 2001. I just love the desert and the whole outdoor vibe.
Don't tell too many people.
Yeah, I know. I think they've heard about it.
Yeah, I know.
But so we started doing camps back in those days, and so decided to move my family out here in 2008, and just had the flexibility and freedom, and had sold the bike shops, and it was just a time in my life that I could take that opportunity and go.
Yeah.
So we built a house out here and just decided to move. And then Lifetime Fitness, I got a call from one of their senior VPs, and they recruited me and basically said, we want you to, in a way, build our endurance sports training business. And Lifetime at the time was publicly traded. And I was familiar with them, but I didn't really know anything about them. So I went out to Minneapolis where they're based.
Okay.
And just really fell in love with their vision and their mission. And it was just, I'd always been an entrepreneur and small business owner. And I said to myself, I need to grow. I need to grow as a professional. So what's next for me? And I was in my, late 30s at the time, and never worked for anybody. It's always doing my own thing. Yep. So I said, yep, I'm going to do it. I'm going to join this big company, become a corporate guy. But I still had my other businesses out there too, operating on the side. But eventually they did acquire my businesses. So there's more of a focus on what my role was for them. So I worked for them for 10 years as the senior national director for their endurance sports training division.
Very cool.
And so ultimately that encompassed the running, the cycling, the triathlon, the indoor cycling piece, which,
is big for Lifetime, right? Yeah.
Well, they were, tremendous. I mean, that organization, I think they have 160 clubs now, and, they're all really awesome. And the really great thing about what I was connected to their vision because they owned races too. They owned all the major triathlons. They owned Leadville. The Leadville race series, which you're probably familiar with. Yep. Now they're into the gravel and everything.
And they're doing that. I think they're the main sponsor for what's the 6 events? Yeah. Are they giving $1 million or whatever?
Yeah. What's that
Something
called?
Like that. Yeah. I'm disconnected from them. It's been about 4 years now since
you left.
Since I've
retired
away from them. But
but they asked you basically to build that endurance kind of performance program
within their confines, within their model of doing business. So, there was autonomy, but when you're working in a big company like that,
sure.
there's
also
not autonomy,
right?
But it was up to me to try to make things happen in the way I thought they should, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the connection with people, the clubs, and the impact we had on members who were getting involved in triathlon and cycling. It was just. And at the time, there's 1.5 million members. So it's a lot of people.
Wow, yeah.
A lot of clubs, a lot of people. Yep. Anyway, the great part of my life. But I think what it also gave me a tremendous education, because again, I was an entrepreneur, small business owner, and all of a sudden
you're in corporate America.
Yeah. And I had a boss and all that kind of stuff. And that was different. That was a shift for me, emotionally and mentally. But I'm glad I did it, because that experience has landed me where I am now in my third career, in my, mid 50s, and which I absolutely love. And it's another growth step for me.
That's cool.
So that helped bridge the gap between like coaching athletes and then working for corporate as a director and building programs, and now as a leader, like a coach for leaders.
Right. The leadership element, and coming from a small business ownership background, then going to a corporate environment, I've experienced both.
All right.
And a lot of people in the field that I'm in maybe haven't done that, right? They haven't really
Walked in
started
both
their own
shoes.
business and had to pull the quarters out of their couch to pay the bills and grow their company, and then go to that corporate world. So it's a unique combination of experiences I've had, which enables me now to work with small business owners and also corporate clients.
So that opens up your opportunity. So I've got a 14-year-old son. He's got an entrepreneurial spirit. He's very bright, trying to figure out what he wants to do in the world. Since you've lived in, so I was military and now I'm executive in corporation. So I've only done I'm good. Only done the corporate thing, really. What advice would you give a 14-year-old kid that's choosing between an entrepreneurial path and a go get a degree and go get a job at a company
That's
path?
a tough one. Well, I have young kids too. So, I'm
So here's Dad giving you some advice, kids.
Trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out for them as well. I think both pathways can open up great opportunities, and you can get tremendous results. I think education is really important. That's ultimately the linchpin, building your education, and whether it's self-learning or getting that formal education. I think in our world, it might make sense to get that formal education and get those technical skills. But ultimately, one thing we talk a lot about in leadership training is that your technical acumen gets you into the game. It's your emotional intelligence that really makes you successful. So 20% of it is your technical acumen and what you know. It's 80% that helps you go to that next level and grow in whatever your role is. So developing those communication skills, the ability to self-regulate, all those important things that
I'm taking notes. Can you back up for a minute?
What was it? We're going to get back to bikes at some point. I promise our listeners.
It's good for everybody. Yeah. So you said 80-20, and 20% was the technical acumen, and 80% was the emotional.
EQ, emotional intelligence.
EQ, the emotional intelligence. Yeah.
80%.
80%. Yep. So the concept is, say you're an engineer or whatever your technical attribute is, your profession, and your IQ is 140, whatever it is, really high, right?
Yeah. Well,
if your IQ is 150, it's not going to make a big difference in terms of what you know in your field. But your ability to communicate with people, because ultimately it's people that you're always dealing with, and your ability to connect with people, to articulate your thoughts and your, and help them do better. All these different elements of emotional intelligence, basically the kind of person you become is what really helps you get to that next level in your career.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So
have you done any emotional intelligence training?
So, I have not. However, when I was a school teacher, I shared with my kids an article, talked about kids in kindergarten, where they had an opportunity to either eat the marshmallow immediately or wait. I don't know if you know this. Yeah, sure. And then they track those kids, whatever. And that talks about the EQ. And it's just fascinating that, to your point, what the EQ means for life.
I've got a couple books. I'll give you one of them out there. It's got little tests, and they'll tell you where you stand and how you can improve. I'm sure you know all about what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Nice.
That's interesting. Super interesting.
So Josh, when he helps me with, is kind of a mentor for me for my work, and he breaks things into threes. Okay. I noticed on your website, on the, it's got the JacobsonLeadershipAcademy.com. Okay. Is that right? The website?
Yes.
Okay. JacobsonLeadershipAcademy.com. We'll have the links in the show notes. But you also have the threes.
Leadership, culture, strategy.
You got it as well. So it's just funny. I'm like, Josh is going to catch that. I know it. Skilled leaders, strong teams, plus positive culture equals winning results. Right. And then you mentioned the leadership, culture, strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. If,
everything's in threes, bro.
Yeah, I love it.
I just think it's because a man can't remember more than three things.
Well, so that's interesting. So we call it the three pillars. And we look at each element when we work with clients. We look at each element of their business. How do you stack up? And a lot of our meetings and conversations are around how do you stack up in each area. And with these executives, these CEOs, business owners, oftentimes there's one area that there are three and one area that there are one. Yep. They can say, I'm doing really well in this area, but I'm doing poorly in this area. So that's where the value of executive coaching is, because we bring that awareness up and then we can really focus on that area that might be weaker at this time.
So and then we can get into a whole argument about strength-based leadership and should I play to my strengths or work on my weaknesses, right?
Yeah, that's true too. But, yeah.
So the three-legged stool kind of thing, and an assessment and awareness of some weaknesses, and you kind of focus on those is what I heard. And then the other, so who are you helping? Is it actual people? Is it businesses? Is it both?
Yeah, so it's both, but it really starts with the leader. So we have a saying, the first person you lead is you. And if you're not optimized as a business leader, as a person, how are you going to really build your team up to the next level? Because people are looking for cues. They're looking for how you act and what you do. So the more optimized you are as a person, as a leader, the more effective you're going to be as a business owner or an executive.
Okay.
So the first person you lead is you. So we always start with the individual, and we look at things like their values and their personal mission and their goals in life and all these different things. Okay. And if they have that set and they're firm on that, then they can start working with their executives and their team and building their business. But if they're a mess, their business will be a mess.
It trickles down.
Oh yeah.
It's both ways, good or bad.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It all starts with the front.
So how long have you been in the kind of the business and leadership coaching?
Well, I've been doing it professionally as a way of making a living now for almost 5 years.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like we talked about, a natural transition from the coaching. So you still like are on the bike, right? And as an athlete. So do you, how do you find the time to balance like running all your businesses and still staying in great shape and ready for the 24-hour race, as an example, in your single speed?
Yeah. So one thing I've always believed, and even more so now, is in efficiencies. You try to do as much as you can and get as much value as you can out of the least amount of not output, but
time
commitment, right? So you can live your busy life. Where's the balance in your life? And we have a series of assessments. I call it I created it. It's called the High Performance Life Series. And we look at each area of your life and how you can optimize your whole life as a whole, and look at each area of your life, your personal relationships, your fitness, your work life, your spiritual life, your contribution, meaning, if you're volunteering time, giving, that kind of thing. Yep. So all these different elements, if they're optimized, then you're living this really high performance life. But you only have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. Yeah.
Everyone has only 24 hours in a day. So you have to look at what's most important to you. Now, honestly, if 24-hour mountain bike racing was most important to me, I would probably invest more time into it. But the truth is, it's not. It's a part of my life that helps me live this high performance life model or vision that I have for myself.
Right.
But it's not everything. So I invest as little time as I can into it. I still enjoy it a lot, but I try not to overdo it in any way, shape, or form. And believe me, as a former Ironman professional triathlete back in the days,
what it's like to put a lot of time.
I know what 25, 30-hour training weeks look like.
Yeah.
And that's something that I just don't even do anymore. So to your point, to your question, the physical part of my life or the training part is optimized as much as possible. So a typical week might be a week 2 weekend rides I try to get in, and those will be an hour and a half to 2 hours, hopefully. And then during the weekday, most of the time I have a Stages bike at home. The Stages, it's, I forget which model it is, but it's, it's connected, wattage output and all that stuff. But I usually do this 15 or 20 minute workouts, sometimes 30-minute workouts, 3, maybe 4 days a week. A couple days are kind of intervals and pushing my heart rate up. A couple days are just steady state. But if you look at my Strava, most of the time you'll see 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, maybe dedicated to the training. Now I'll try to ramp that up as I get closer to these events. I'm doing the Enchanted Forest 24-hour race in late July.
Okay.
So I'll try to get a couple more weeks in of longer stuff. But that, and then work out with weights twice a week, which I think is super important, especially for
that's one of the questions I was going to ask you about was strength training.
Oh, it's so important. Yeah.
Hey, so you're riding a single speed now. And he says Santa Cruz HT. Is that a high tower or is that a hardtail?
Oh, so I had the Highball. It's called the Highball.
Yep.
And I've been riding that for a couple of years, but I just picked up a Surly Karate Monkey.
Josh loves the Surleys.
And I'm from Campfire Cycling, downtown Tucson.
Yep. We got to get those guys on, actually.
They're really, really good guys.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed working with them. And, as a former industry guy, I always keep my eyes closed, what's going on in this shop. And I thought they delivered a really good customer service experience. So I recommend them. But, I got it set up. Beautiful bike, set up a single speed, dialed in for me. I'm just loving it.
So I rode single speed forever, almost exclusively. And then, and what I found was that I was faster on a single speed than I am on a geared bike, especially like if there's like climbing, because you can't downshift and bitch out, so to speak. Right.
Yeah.
But it just started crushing my knees.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so I've kind of gone back to a geared bike, but you're mid-50s and still riding the single speed. You don't have any problems with it on your
I do.
knees?
I mean, are you kidding me? Out there at 24 hours, I'm like hating life the whole time. What gets me? The postural muscles, like my neck and my hands and my back. Oh, it's like somebody's taking a sharp stick and poking it in my lower left back for the entire event. There's a lot of suffering going on, especially when you're not putting in the volume that you should.
Yeah.
So my lesson and
training volume is what you mean.
Well, yeah, training volume and just getting the body used to being on the bike in that position. It's important for that kind of race. But more important than that, and what I'm learning is, because I think I'm going to say I've done probably 6 solo events now. Maybe, 6 or 7, and probably 2 or 3. I should know this, but several now on the single speed. Anyway, what I'm learning is that event is not about fitness. It's not about fitness. It's about strategy, and it's about your output throughout the entire 24 hours.
Eating the right amount and making sure you're...
Yep, all that stuff. It's about the nutrition element, and it's about being smart with your gearing. Yep. Being smart about how you take on the course. And that's what I'm enjoying about it now, because I used to be like one of these lactate threshold minded, high power output. I used, back in those days, mid 70 VO2 max and, run sub 3 hour Ironman marathon and be able to post a sub 4:45 bike split at Ironman. Just nowadays, that's not even fast. These guys are going so damn fast today. It's amazing. But, but now with this new sport that I've been embarking on, it's more about just strategy and technique and nutrition, and I like that. And actually, it's really good for us older guys because, I have AFib and some of those things that you get from beating the crap out of yourself for so many years prior. So it slows me down, and it lets me enjoy the bike without feeling like I need to peg it all the time. Mm-hmm. So.
As I was doing my laps, which were not many, but I did as many as I could, and I kept thinking, man, the endurance is so important. So it's fascinating to me that you mentioned it's not as important as the strategy, technique, diet, nutrition, etc.
Yeah, I'm purely convinced because for a couple of years I wasn't, back 5 or 6 years ago, I wasn't super fit, but I could post pretty hot lap, 105 to 110 on a fairly regular basis. Mm-hmm. And one year I did that. I did a geared solo, and I think my first 5 laps was like an average of 115 or 120. So I torqued it, but it blew me to pieces. And I didn't really have the fitness base to do that anyway. Right. I had no business doing that. Let's put it that way. It was stupid. And I just learned, it's not about, and some of the guys are doing that, and they can do it because they have the fitness and can ride all the time. But it's like any endurance event. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's deceptive because when you start off and you're during, the first part of the day, it's still light out and everyone's feeling good. Yeah. You're just feeling like you're a rock star.
Yeah. And the course is fast. It's not hard. Yeah. It's not hard to just punch it. Yeah.
And it's no big deal. And you're just cranking it out. And then even into the night a little bit, you're like, I got this. This is
as a solo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like 3 a.m.
Well, then the reality starts hitting in. It's when you're on the bike you might get off the bike to reload your fluids and stuff like that or stretch. But when you're on the bike for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 15 hours, then things start, the reality of what you're doing come in. And I've seen a lot of really mentally tough athletes start saying, screw this, I'm off. And they take a 6-hour nap. And, next thing they wake up at 7 the next morning, and there's other guys that are just a turtle. It's a turtle in the hair, man. That's what it is.
Keep going.
They just keep going.
Just grind it out.
Really? They just grind it. It's just, it's all about strategy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Hey, so we said I break everything down into 3s. I have a question for you. I break fitness into 3 things: fuel, rest, and then movement. So you could call that training. From those 3 things, how you feed your body, how you move your body, and how you rest your body, what's the most important one?
In what context?
To perform. In order to help you perform, where should you focus? Where should you optimize, and where should you dedicate time between those 3 things?
Well, I guess the easiest, if you're not asking them for a specific event, I think they're probably evenly matched. Depending on your goals. There's for example, in our sport, power to weight ratio is important. Yes. So optimizing your power to weight ratio is a key to increasing VO2 max, increasing your watts per kilogram. So you can't outtrain a bad diet. Have you heard that before?
Look at me. I probably haven't.
So in that case, then I would say if you're eating poorly, then you need to optimize on your nutrition, because nutrition is going to be a big part of it. So I guess what I'm saying is it's really hard to give you a specific answer. They're all in balance in one way, shape, or form. And I think it depends on your training program, where you are in your training cycle, and what kind of program you follow, because they might shift a little bit. Training volume goes up at certain times in your training program, depending on when your goals are, your A race, things like that. So
Troy's really good.
He's
really smart.
No, he's super smart. Hey, okay. So we started out talking about Spinervals and talked about how it like transformed us from these out of shape monsters to like someone that could perform at the 24-hour race. Why did that HIIT training do that? Why did it what was happening in our bodies? Why does that work?
Yeah. High intensity training. Well, essentially you're training your anaerobic capacity. You're training to boost your anaerobic capacity. And when you do that, it's like the high tide raises all ships. So when you boost your anaerobic capacity, you're also going to build your aerobic capacity.
Wait, so was anaerobic your training when you're doing those?
Well, not all of them. So that's the interesting thing about Spinervals. Another reason why it became so successful, I think. We produced a lot of aerobic base training workouts too. So any coach could just tell their athlete, today I want you to do Spinervals 16.0. Tuesday, I want you to do Spinervals 22.0. Wednesday, because every workout had a focus. And that's what made it, I think, so effective for athletes, because athletes that my team coached would have them do it a certain way. And we put when I used to have the website up, I put a ton of literature out there on how to use the videos.
Yeah.
So Tuesday would be an aerobic base training day.
Right.
We used to have videos called Aero Base Builders. and it was designed to keep you in your aerobic intensity zone. Okay. And then other workouts were super high intensity, zone 5 and above workouts, but we would balance those in the right way. So the truth is you need to focus on every energy system, your aerobic energy system and that anaerobic energy system, and one called your ATP-CP system, that really high intensity sprint power system. You get all those going in the right way. You build all your 3 energy systems. Boom, you've got a great performance in the future, and you're building yourself as a whole athlete.
So you mentioned earlier that part of your routine nowadays is that you lift weights or do strength training a couple days a week. And I found as I get older, like that's more and more important. Like I have to lift weights, I have to do strength training, or I just can't perform on the bike. Mm-hmm. Is it as important to the younger athletes as well to do that strength training? I mean, did you do strength training when you were 25 and racing triathlons? I
did not, and I regret it now. I feel like had I incorporated more strength work into my program back then, I probably would have raced better, and I probably wouldn't be dealing with some of the injuries that I'm dealing with today. The only thing that I had, though, as an advantage, and maybe what saved me, is I was a strength athlete throughout high school. I played football and I wrestled.
Right.
So, I didn't get into triathlon till I didn't get into endurance training till I was about 18, 19 years old.
So you had a foundation already?
I had a foundation of strength from many years of, the heavy lifting back in those days. But, younger athletes absolutely need to incorporate strength work into their program. Older athletes, without question, it needs to be an important foundational part of your training.
Do you think that it's like an evolution, and now we've kind of come as an industry kind of come to the realization that we have to incorporate strength training? It seems like it's emphasized now everywhere, and it wasn't emphasized that way 20 years ago.
Well, I think everything changes. A lot of it's still the same, and the fundamentals I think are still the same, but things evolve, technology evolves, science evolves, and if you look at the athletes now, in triathlon, and the barriers they're breaking, it's phenomenal to me. I mean, how fast these guys are going, guys and gals, based on how they're monitoring their training, setting up their training programs, understanding technique, even in terms of the fact that a lot of triathletes, the elite pros now typically start as triathletes when they're very young, and they're swimming, biking, and running, and doing speed work and that kind of thing at a very young age.
I mean, it's amazing the tools that we have today. I had a rough week this week with work, and that's my sleep, right? And this is just me wearing my Apple Watch, and it's telling me, hey,
out of whack.
My sleep's out of whack.
Yeah.
I need to, and it tells me all kinds of, a lot more than my sleep.
Technology.
But it's amazing what we have today that we didn't have 20 years ago. So it's no surprise that we can move these machines, our bodies, much more effectively than maybe we could, because we've got much more data available to us to tweak and tune and mess with.
Yep. Especially if your coach knows how to use the data, and a lot of coaches now are trained in how to do that.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to use the data, that's dangerous. Is that
pretty much? Well, yeah.
What is your thought on supplements?
I'm not a big fan. I've never been a big fan of supplements. I feel like if your diet's deficient, then that protein supplement, that multivitamin supplement is probably a great idea. Race day and training supplements, if you're talking about sports nutrition, those can certainly be helpful. But a lot of the other things that people get into, I think I've always questioned. It just gives you really expensive urine.
Because your body's not actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's different levels, and some it can be dangerous too if you take in A, D, E, and K, I think, which are the fat solubles, and you have too much of it, that can create toxicities and things like that. Yeah. So you have to be careful if you're going to be doing a lot of supplementation, and it's really expensive. And honestly, I've always felt, and I'm kind of old school in many ways, probably because I am old. But if you eat a very balanced diet, sleep well, train hard,
it'll all work out.
You're going to get faster. And at some point in your life, it's not about getting faster. It's about not getting slower.
Yeah,
right.
So, or just being able to ride.
Right. Like being able to just
get out,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, so question for you. So lots of questions, I guess. cycling and maybe endurance sports in general, a lot of times is like a mental thing, right? It's like pushing past the mental barrier. And so here's my question. My question is, when your body's telling you no, how do you know when you should listen to it and when you need to push past that?
That's a great question. Well, if you're asking me, I think we all have a certain constitution and tolerance to discomfort. And I think if you're an endurance athlete, especially if you want to be a successful endurance athlete, you have to recognize that there is a pain cave that you need to dive into, and you have to be comfortable with it. And testing yourself in that, in events like 24 hours, and pushing yourself, and proving to yourself that you can do it. Certainly there's a point of diminishing returns where you can get yourself hurt, and a lot of people don't recognize where that is. And there's that fine line, but in order to be competitive, and for me, in order to, I mean, in my Ironman career, I've ended up in the medical tent many times, just totally wasted at the end. Not that I'm saying that's a good thing or the right thing to do, but my mentality was, I'm going to push my body to its absolute limit unless I can't, and there's a saying, I mean, if you're a Spinervals fan, you'll know this. I used to say, you'll pass out before you die. One of my favorite sayings. And so that mentality of, pushing yourself until you can't anymore is a big part of what endurance sports is about.
Right.
I was
trying to find that line between, like, where is it you're now injuring yourself, and you hear about folks getting, and I can't remember the right way to say this, if it's ragmo or ragdo or I know what you mean. Rhabdo
that became in CrossFit, that became a big deal in the CrossFit community.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We actually had at the 24-hour race, there's a popular
I saw that
YouTuber.
I saw that.
He ended up
in
the hospital.
Going to TMC. I saw that video.
British guy.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's the point, right? We're all walking that fine line, and you need to make a decision at some point whether or not to pull the plug or just slow down. It's a lot of it's just sometimes
just take off the gas.
Take off the gas, let the ego kind of take a back seat.
That's great advice.
Slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. So you, as a coach, motivate a lot of people, thousands over the years, I would imagine. What motivates you? Do you have a coach, or how do you navigate that? I have had coaches. I have mentors. I don't work with a coach necessarily right now, but I have this unique opportunity to be surrounded by some of the highest performance people in the business community, and that extends to other parts of life as part of my career. I mean, it's pretty wild. I have a CEO group here. Well, actually, we have a couple now, and we're building another one, and then another one up in Phoenix. And these are people that are either founders and or CEOs of $100 million companies. And these are folks that I get to hang out with, one-to-ones that we have in our group meetings. So my coaches are the people I actually coach.
If you want to be great, surround yourself with great people.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is such an overarching and important concept.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. And when you hang out with really good people, that's what happens.
Interesting.
Look at your top 3 friends. That's what kind of man you're going to be.
Yeah. An average of the 3 or whatever they say.
Yeah. That's why I hang out with you, because this guy's more like Jesus than anyone I know.
That's not even close to being.
Which is exactly what someone who's like Jesus would say.
Josh, I don't want to go take too. Okay. But so today it seems like if you watch the news, there's just so much garbage out there. And I think it's very challenging. Maybe it's always been like this, and maybe we're more, it's on social media everywhere and that. But do you have any advice for our listeners and in that, just for people today, like you coach I forget how there's optimizing and high performing, just for people trying to find the next gear, getting up, if they've been kicked to the ground a couple times, like just any things that, you could kind of share with our listeners about that.
You mean in terms of how to move forward?
Just moving forward, kind of just
they're stuck. They're stuck. They want to get. They're stuck. They want to get to the next level. Yes. How do you level up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Level up. No, I love that. Well, I think it's about what we were just talking about, who you surround yourself with, your key influences on a day-to-day basis, and having people in your life who can bring you up and not pull you down. That's a big part of it. It's also about forming habits. What are the daily habits? What are the little things that you do each day that have the long-term impact on the trajectory that you'll take? Those little things have such an influence on who you become. So your education, how you're sharpening the saw. Are you reading about new ideas, new concepts about your profession each and every day? Just 15 minutes of that a day adds up to hours and hours a year of self-education. It's these little habits.
That's Blinkist.
It's about, yeah, that's right. Well, and that's the high performance life concept, is what are you doing each day to live this vision of your high performance life? It's the workout. I mean, if I don't work out, at least do something, even if it's going for a brisk walk every day, there's something missing, right?
Yes.
And that consistency and knowing I need to do that is just part of the high performance life. It's like eating certain foods, not eating certain foods. All these different things contribute. So the small habits. And there's a concept that I love, and that is, think about not making these huge, you say somebody's stuck because they get stuck in analysis paralysis. They get so far behind. They're like, there's nothing else I can do here. I don't know what to do. Well, don't think of it as if you need to make these huge steps forward. Think about it as making 1% each day, 1% each day, like these little incremental steps forward. And
they add up.
It's all about the cumulative effect of anything. It's like a training program. It's not about the one workout you do each week. It's about that workout and the one before it and the one after it. That's what really matters. So
that's awesome. Who was it? Ben Franklin or Thomas Jefferson said, try to be 1% better each day, to your point.
Yep. 1%.
Small steps. Okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned reading. Like, are you a writer as well? Any influential books?
Well, for me, I put out a lot of content on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Which is B2B professional, tons of content. I like to put my ideas out there. Of course, they're taken from different people and their ideas, but bring them together and present different concepts for a lot of reason I do it is for my CEOs, so they have something to think about for the week. Nice. So definitely that's a big part of it. And I do a lot of reading, Harvard Business Review, and a lot of reading around, business and leadership and that kind of thing. And I try to find little digestible chunks every day that resonate with me.
Okay.
If you want to take some HBRs home, I got a ton of them.
Yeah. Sounds like good reading I should actually be doing. So people can get connected on your LinkedIn as well. Troy Jacobson, I would imagine.
Yep.
Okay. Coach Troy.
And we'll put links to all this stuff in the show notes for everybody.
Okay. Awesome.
Hey, so we're about at time here, guys.
Went fast.
It went fast. That's a good thing, right? Was it horrible? Are you glad that you stayed and didn't leave? You were a little
I know, at first I was thinking,
you're like, Jesus
these
Christ,
guys.
what did I get myself into? But not so bad, right? Not so bad.
Not so bad. And the Dragoon IPA helps.
That's why we offer the beer right at the beginning to loosen you up. Yeah. But we really appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us on this Sunday afternoon. Troy, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Final thoughts. Just, I'm glad you guys are doing this. I think it's a great way to promote cycling and, let people hear different perspectives from different people in the industry and fans of cycling. And, I'm been a cyclist since I was 18 years old. So I've been riding a bike forever, and it's changed my life, made my life what it is today. And I absolutely love the community. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey man, thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate you.
Thank you.